Development by Jean Piaget. And you will very familiar with him, the theorist, Jean
Yeah,
Piaget,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
He's very famous.
yeah, he is very famous educator as well as psychologist. So, cognitive development. Parents often focus intently on the intellectual development of their children. Intelligence is a notoriously difficult trait to assess. However, developmental researchers try to describe how children think about and evaluate the world. Hmm. Hmm. Jean Piaget's cognitive development theory is the most famous theory of this type. Hmm. However, some researchers now criticize part of his theory and offer alternative explanations for the same behaviors. Jean Piaget. Jean Piaget was working for Alfred Binet. He is the creator of the first intelligence test, IQ. When he started to notice interesting behaviors in the children he was interviewing, Piaget noted that children of roughly the same age almost always gave similar answers to some of the questions on the intelligence test, even if the answers were wrong. He hypothesized that this was because they were all thinking in similar ways, and these ways of thinking differ from the ways others think. Hmm. This hypothesis led to Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Piaget described how children view the world through schemata, cognitive rules we use to interpret the world. So there is a kind of rule, and then we just apply the rule to interpret the world. It is called schemata.
Mm.
Normally, we incorporate our experiences into these existing schemata in a process called assimilation. So, sometimes information does not fit into or violates our schemata. So we must accommodate and change our schemata. For example, a 4-year-old boy named Daniel gets a pair of cowboy boots from his parents for his birthday. He wears his cowboy boots constantly and does not see anyone else wearing them. Daniel develops a schemata for cowboy boots. Only little boys wear boots. Most of his experiences do not violate this schemata. He sees other little boys wearing boots and assimilates this information into his schemata. Then Daniel's family takes a trip to Arizona. When he gets off of the plane, he sees a huge man wearing cowboy boots. Daniel points at the man and starts to laugh hysterically. Up to now, he just thought about his schemata is the boots is only be worn by like little kids, but there is a big difference because the guy is he is tall and he is grown up, so his schemata has to be changed.
Mm.
Mm. Why is Daniel causing this scene? His schemata has been violated. So he's confusing now. To Daniel, the large man is dressing like a little boy. After he stops laughing, Daniel will have to accommodate this new information and change his schemata to include the fact that others can wear cowboy boots. So, he just finally changed the schemata. Others can wear cowboy boots. Not only kids, but also others can wear cowboy boots too. By the way, this process may repeat itself the first time Daniel sees a woman in boots. So keep going and going and going. The schemata has changes. Piaget thinks humans go through this process of schemata creation, assimilation, accommodation, as we develop cognitively. His cognitive development theory describes how our thinking processes through 4 stages. First, sensory motor stage, birth to approximately 2 years old. So, baby starts experiencing and exploring the world strictly through their senses. At the beginning of life, Piaget noted that behavior is governed by the reflexes we are born with. Soon, we start to develop our first cognitive schemata. That explain the world we experience through our senses. One of the major challenges of this stage is to develop object permanencies. Babies at first do not realize that objects continue to exist even when they are out of sensory range. When babies start to look for or somehow acknowledge that objects do exist when they cannot see them, they have object permanence. And next stage is pre-operational stage. 2 to approximately 7 years old. Acquiring the scheme of object permanence prepares a child to start to use symbols to represent real-world objects. This ability is the beginning of language. The beginning of language. The most important cognitive development of this stage, we start speaking our first words and gradually learn to represent the word more completely through language. While we can refer to the word through symbols, during the pre-operational stage, we are still limited in the ways we can think about the relationship between object and the characteristic of object. Children in this stage are also egocentric in their thinking. Egocentric means very like selfish. Their energy is just the direction of energy is centered to their self.
Oh.
So they like think for the perspectives of themselves. Not they cannot think others like they do not understand others like the opposite. Since they cannot look at the world from anyone's perspective but their own. Yeah. This is the characteristic of this stage, egocentric. And concrete operations. 8 to approximately 12 years old. During the concrete operation stage, children learn to think more logically about complex relationship between different characteristics of objects. Piaget categorized children in the concrete operation stage. When they demonstrated knowledge of concept of conservation. Concept of conservation, the realization that properties of objects remain the same even when their shape changes. Do you understand it? Do you understand this concept?
Yeah, so what's inside is still the same. What's changed is just outside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This concept demonstrates how the different aspects of objects are conserved, even when their arrangement changes. So let's look at table 9.1. So, like volume, area, and number. Volume. The volume of material is conserved even if the material's container or shape changes. So, pour water into differently shaped glasses and ask if the volume of the water increased, decreased, or stayed at the same. And area. Area is conserved even if objects within that area are rearranged. Ask a child to examine two different squares of equal area and rearrange objects within the area in order to determine if children realize the area was conserved. And number. The number of objects stays the same. When the objects are rearranged. Take a few objects, let the child count them, rearrange the object, and ask the child how many there are now. If the child counts them again, he or she does not understand conservation of number. So, and next stage is formal operations, 12 through adulthood. This final stage of Piaget describes adult reasoning. Piaget theorized that not all of us reach formal operations in all areas of thought. Not all of us reach. Formal operational reasoning is abstract reasoning. We can manipulate objects and contrast ideas in our mind without physically seeing them or having real-world correlates. One example of abstract reasoning is hypothesis testing. A person in Piaget's formal operation stage can reason from a hypothesis. To test for formal operational thought, you might ask a child. How would you be different if you were born on a planet that had no light? A child in the pre-operational or concrete operational stage would have trouble answering the question because no real-world model exists to fall back on. Someone in the normal operation stage would be able to extrapolate from this hypothesis and reason that the beings on that planet may not have eyes, would have no words for color, and might exclusively rely on other senses. Also, in the formal operational stage, we gain the ability to think about the way we think. It is called metacognition. We can trace our thought processes and evaluate the effectiveness of how we solved a problem. Criticisms of Piaget. Information processing model. Many developmental psychologists still value Piaget's insight about the other in which our cognitive skills develop, but most agree that he underestimated children. Many children go through these stages faster and enter them earlier than Piaget predicted. Piaget's error may be due to the way he tested children. Some psychologists wonder if some of his tests rely too heavily on language use. Thus biasing the result in favor of older children with more language skills. Other theorists wonder if development does not occur more continuously. Can Piaget describe? Perhaps our cognitive skills develop more continuously and not in discrete stages. The information processing model is a more continuous alternative to Piaget's stages theory. Information processing points out that our abilities to memorize, interpret, and perceive gradually develop as we age rather than developing in distinct stages. For example, research shows that our attention span gradually increases as we get older. This one continuous change could explain some apparent cognitive differences. Piaget attributed to different cognitive stages. Maybe children's inability to understand conservation of number has more to do with their ability to focus for long periods of time than any developing reasoning ability. Developmental researchers agree that no one has the perfect model to describe cognitive development. Future research will refine our current ideas and create models that more closely describe how our thinking changes as we mature. And moral development. Lawrence Calvo. His state theory studies a completely different aspect of human development, morality. Calvo wanted to describe how our ability to reason about ethical situations changes over our lives. In order to this, he asked a subject group of children to think about specific moral situations. One situation Calvo used is the Heinz dilemma, which describes a man named Heinz making a moral choice about whether to steal a drug he cannot afford in order to save his wife's life. Calvo collected all the participants' responses and categorized them into 3 levels. Pre-conventional. The youngest children in Calvo's sample focused on making the citizen most likely to avoid punishment. Their moral reasoning is limited to how the choice affects themselves. Children in the pre-conventional level might say that Heinz should not steal the drug because he might get caught and put into prison. And conventional level. During the next level of moral reasoning, children are able to move past personal gain or lost and look at the moral choice through others' eyes. Children in this stage make a moral choice based on how others will view them. Children learn conventional standards of what is right and wrong from their parents, peers, media, and so on. They may try to follow these standards so that the other people will see them as good. Children in the conventional level might say that Hans should steal the drug because then he could save his life and people would think of him as a hero. Mm. Mm. And the last level, post-conventional level. And what we usually mean by moral reasoning, a person evaluating a moral choice. Using post-conventional reasoning examines the right and values involved in the choice. Kellogg describes how self-defined ethical principles, such as a personal conviction to offer justice, might be involved in the reasoning in this stage. Those doing the reasoning might weigh the merit of altruism or limiting certain rights for the good of the crew. For the first time, the morality of societal rules are examined rather than blindly accepted. Persons in the post-conventional stage might say that Heinz should steal the drug because his wife's right to life outweighs the store owner's right to personal property. And do you understand these three levels?
Yeah, prefer
Okay.
Colbert.
Yeah, it is. He's also very famous as like a skater, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Along
So
with John Piaget.
yeah. So maybe you've studied about him.
Mm.
Yeah. And criticisms of Calvert. Some developmental psychologists challenge Calvert's conclusion. One researcher, Carol Gilligan, pointed out that Calvert developed the model based on the responses of boys. Mm. He only focused on boys, not girls.
Mm.
Yeah. When girls were later tested, she continued. Calvert places their responses into lower categories.
Mm.
Yeah. It's a little bit different. Boy and girls, they are a little bit different. Gilligan theorized that Calvert's assumption that boys and girls come to moral conclusions in the same way is incorrect. Perhaps some gender-based developmental difference occurs in how we develop our moral and ethics. According to Gilligan's research, boys have a more absolute view of what is moral, while girls pay more attention to the situational factors. Boys might have moral rules that apply in every context, while girls might want to know more about the situation and relationship of the people involved before making a moral decision. Gilligan's insight about Kerber's theory demonstrate the importance of studying possible gender differences and how they might change as we develop. However, recent research does not support Gilligan's theory of gender differences in moral development. And gender and development. Another area of developmental research focuses on gender issues. Specifically, researchers are interested in how we develop our ideas about what it means to be male and female and developmental differences between genders. Different cultures encourage different gender roles, which are behaviors that the culture associates with the gender. Gender roles vary widely between cultures. A behavior considered feminine in one culture, such as holding hands with a friend, might be considered masculine or not gender specific in another. Different psychological perspectives provide different theories that try to explain how gender roles develop. And biopsychological neuropsychological theory. Biopsychological psychologists concentrate on the nature elements in the nature-nurture combination that produce our gender role. Children learn and are often very curious about the obvious biological differences between the sexes. However, biopsychologists psycholo- biopsychologists look for more subtle biological gender differences. For the purposes of this book, going into extensive detail about all the differences. Between male and female brain is unnecessary. One of the most significant findings is that on average, women have larger corpus callosomes than men. Theoretically, this difference may affect how the right and left hemisphere communicate and coordinate tasks.
Let's see.
See. And these are written in psychodynamic theory. As noted in the chapter about psychological perspectives, some of Freud's psychodynamic perspectives are considered to have more historical value than current value. However, his views about gender role development are widely known and sometimes referred to in the media, and so are worth mentioning. Freud viewed gender development as a competition. Young boys unconsciously compete with their fathers for their mother's attention. Girls similarly compete with mothers for their father's love. Proper gender development occurs when a child realizes that she or he cannot help but be their same-sex parent at this competition, and identifies with that person instead. Girls learning to be a woman like a mom, or boys being a man like a dad. To verify this idea empirically is difficult, if not impossible. Mm. And social cognitive theory. Social and cognitive psychologists concentrate on the effects of society and our own thoughts about gender upon world development. Social psychologists look at how we react to boys and girls differently. For example, boys are more often encouraged in low physical plays than are girls. Cognitive psychologists focus on the internal interpretations we make about the gender message we get from our environment. Gender schemata theory explains that we internalize messages about gender into cognitive rules about how each gender should behave. If a girl sees that her little brother is encouraged to wrestle with their father, she creates a rule governing how boys and girls should play. And next chapter is personality. I love this chapter. Yeah. This
Yeah, it's
is
very interesting.
yeah, it's really interesting. So maybe after you've learned this chapter, you will like you've got a lot of knowledge and
Mm.
background knowledge about like human personality type. So you can categorize your friends, yeah, like your friends into several types, subtype.
Mm,
Yeah,
I see.
Like there are some personality type, especially type A, type B. So this is very particular. And also, uh, they will refer again Freud's psychosexual stasis theory and Oedipus crisis, unconsciousness, id, ego, superego, defense mechanisms. So when we make a love with our boyfriend or girlfriends, if we know the defense mechanism of our counter partner, it's really helpful to make a good relationship. So yeah, this chapter is really helpful. And warm envy and personal unconsciousness and collective unconscious complexes, archetype, phrase theories, big five traits. Big five trait is related like personality type. You can categorize according to big five traits. And factor analysis, heritability, temperament, somatotype theory. Somato means our like body. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it means our body. Triadic reciprocality or reciprocal determinism. Self-efficacy, locus of control, internal and external. Self-concept, self-esteem, self-actualization. They are all from self. So these are very important concept in psychology. Especially self-esteem is very popular and famous. Maybe you've known this concept, right?
Yeah.
Mm. And unconditional positive regard, projective test, Rorschach ink blood test, schematic perception test, TAT, MMPI, and reliability, validity, Parnell effect. And there are many famous people: Sigmund Freud, Karen Horney, Nancy Chodorow, Carl Jung, Alfred Adler, Eisenstein, Patel, Posca, Megre, Orwell, Hippocrates, William Sheldon, Skinner, Bandura, Kelly, Julian Rotter, Abraham Maslow, Carl Rogers. They are really, really famous people, especially in the field of psychology. So let's look at overview. Personality is a term we use all the time. When we describe people to others, we try to convey a sense of what their personalities are like. Yeah. Psychologists define personality as a unique attitude, behaviors, and emotions that characterize a person. As you might expect, psychologists from each of the different perspectives have different ideas about how an individual's personality is created. However, some ideas about personality do not fit neatly into one school of thought. An example is the concept of type A and type B personalities. Type A people tend to feel a sense of time pressure and are easily angered. They are easily angered, type A.
Oh.
And they are competitive and ambitious. They work hard and play hard. Interestingly, research have shown that type A people are at a higher risk per heart disease than the general population. Maybe you can imagine some people, type A people.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're so competitive and enthusiastic, and then, yeah, time pressure, easily anger. This that is because so they can easily get uh, the heart disease, heart attack.
Mm.
Whereas type B individuals, on the other hand, tend to be more relaxed and easygoing. But these types do not fall on opposite ends of a continuum. Some people fit into neither type. Yeah, some people, yeah, just like mixed. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, let's call it a day. Time is up. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that was really fast.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to more of that
Yeah,
next
yeah.
meeting.
Yeah. Okay, see you tomorrow at 7. Okay, at
Same
7.
time.
Yeah, same time.
Okay. Thank you so much, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the evening.
Okay, thank you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.